Welcome to day one of week 8 of the Oceanic Pro League. Hello everyone, I am Jake Spawn Tiberi, and joining me on the desk for tonight's games is going to be Barento Raz Muhammad, as well as Indiana Frostgaroon Black. Guys, you know, Super Week came, it went, lots of things have shaken up in the OPL. How are you doing after such a hectic week?
I'm a little bit tired, but very excited to be here, especially kicking off tonight.
Yeah, we get a large shift coming out of the Super Week. Bigger one actually is the Abyss one. So it's like Abyss taking out Chiefs. So that's going to be exciting to talk about.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we have a lot more League of Legends action coming your way as we have a look at this week's schedule. It is going to be Abyss kicking us off versus the Direwolves before our OPL Legend match of Legacy taking on last place Hellions. Sim Gaming then take to Summoner's Rift against Avant-Garde tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time before the Chiefs head to the Rift against Tainted Minds to try and reclaim some form, because right now, Raz, I think you mentioned it best, they're a sinking ship. Like, people are jumping off board the Chiefs, like, left, right, and center.
Yeah, Chiefs not looking good. That's to say the least.
And it's funny because we pretty much have the two teams that were kind of like the 1-2 punch. Like you're the Direwolves, who just took a massive bite out of the Chiefs' confidence, and then Abyss came and just closed it out.
Yeah, talking about kicking a man while he's down, I think Abyss Esports well and truly achieved that, but it was an impressive win nonetheless. As we have a look at the standings and where the teams lie right now, there's going to be Legacy up top, OPL Legends 6-1, and just looking friggin' fantastic right now. Direwolves are right behind them, 6-1. Chiefs Esports are 4-3. Sitting inside the top 4 with Avant-Garde, although they do have their head-to-head. Abyss and Tainted Minds are just behind them in 5th. Both of the OCS teams battling for that playoff spot in their first split. Sin Gaming are 2-5, and the Hellions, they're searching real hard for their first win, but they have not found it yet. As we get into our first best of 3 of the night, it is going to be Direwolves kicking off on the blue side with Chippies in the top lane, Sybil their jungler, Fantix in the mid lane, Raze their AD carry, Regret their support player. This is a unit that looks very good coming off the back end of a Super Week, and they are going to be going up against another informed squad in Abyss Esports. Pac-Man in the top lane, Seb, their jungler, Luch in the mid lane, Raid and T-Gun are a pretty solid bottom lane duo as well, and I just want to kick it off there. Raid and T-Gun, I think that, you know, for a veteran and a new guy, I mean, they're the oddest couple in the OPL right now, but they're making it look pretty good.
I think that they're more janitorial if you're going to kind of give them a style. I think Raid is on cleanup duty, and Tegan is more about stabilizing and neutralizing. He does that by covering his jungle really well. Karma's the big pick for him rather than being that hard carry playmaking oriented support. Whereas you look at the other side at Direwolves bot lane, you possibly have the best performing AD carry in the league, as well as a pretty hyper aggressive and very intelligent support in Regret.
I kind of disagree with Raid. I think Raid is actually like quite a playmaker. He does take a step back a lot when...
It may just be his champion pool of Ezreal that I'm considering in more janitorial.
I agree with that. But you can see with like the limited resources sometimes he gets when T-Gun tends to leave the lane and kind of roam. But he makes to do with it. He does really well with it. And you can tell some of the plays he makes is like, he's incredible.
Yeah, he certainly is. And, you know, as we have a look at actually how these teams are rounding out the split, it is going to be Direwolves headed up against the Hellions and Legacy in their 2 last remaining games after this one. Of course, looking a little bit ahead, if they win this game tonight, they're looking to secure first, especially with that last game against Legacy. Pretty big round out to the end of the split.
Yeah, and it comes back to this idea that we always knew that Direwolves were going to be a top team or sitting in that elite bunch, but what they needed to adjust for them to really race and reach the first place seed, which was, you know, teaching an old dog new tricks. And their macro control has really been like the difference between, okay, this is a fierce squad that can play carries in every single lane, but now they can also play the map.
Yeah, they certainly can. Raz, I know you're a bold man. Like, do they get to the #1 spot? Are they good enough to get there?
I would say so. I think the biggest thing about Direwolves right now, like, at the very beginning, I saw them growing. I saw certain points where they were kind of like, okay, they were taking steps. They were getting point for point. And then during Super Week, or when they, I'm not sure if it was during Super Week, basically when they had their game against the Chiefs, they played incredibly well, surprisingly well. And you can attribute that mostly to the boot camp they had as well. So like their level 1s, their mid game, the late game, every point, you could tell they thought that out throughout. So I actually take them as the first place team.
All right, we'll have to see whether that is the case. Of course, it is also going to be Abyss Esports run home as we take a look. They're going against Legacy and then the Hellions, so a very similar run for both of these teams. And, you know, I just want to open the question to both of you. Is Abyss now a top 4 roster? Can they either kick out the Chiefs? Can they kick out Avant-Garde?
I think Abyss lack what kind of has now separated Direwolves from being third into first, which is, again, that macro strategy and that identity of being able to play multiple, not multiple positions, but to be able to carry from multiple positions, you know, opening up a split push or playing a team fight-oriented style. Like, Abyss, they have great talent on their roster. Like, if you look at some of the other kind of mid-tier to bottom OPL teams, you say, okay, there's actually talent ceiling issues in trying to make a home run for that. They don't have that. They just need to work on the teamwork and the synergy and actually learning how to play clean League of Legends before they can move up into top 4.
Yeah, I think relatively speaking, I think the one point that they need to grind in to get leap them into the 4th spot would just be greed. Like, honestly, it's mainly greed, because I see they have like great ideas, right? That can theoretically they can take Avant, or they can take pretty much even like maybe bite at the top 3, and they've had before. They've shown great things initially.
Hey, they just off a win off the Chiefs.
Yeah, and so I think they can get to that point. They need to consistently get to that point, and time again, players on that roster, they tend to greed for waves.
This is the really cool thing, though. It's that idea of like consistency. So if you look at Abyss and you look at Direwolves' records, they pretty much go 1-2 or 2-1 every single time. Obviously, Direwolves going the 2-1, but they'll still drop games, whereas Abyss are taking games off of every team that they face. So it's just the difference between that consistency that the Direwolves have as kind of the veteran organization and team to say, okay, we've got like our boot on your throat, and now we're going to continue to step down, where Abyss just drop it.
Is this so? Are we talking about a new Direwolves Sin relationship here? Because we used to say Sin, Direwolves Life, they have the big mid laner, they have a good top laner, but they can't really carry through. Of course, Sin completely changed their identity, looking much more as a 5v5 mid lane unit. But a lot of the criticisms I just heard used to be what we leveled at someone like Fantix. You know, very greedy mid laner there in the middle lane, will not give up freezes, won't be able to help out the rest of the team. They play towards the top side of the map, even though they have a strong bottom lane. Is this something that, you know, maybe Abyss can look at the more veteran squad in the Direwolves and learn from some previous mistakes there?
I think there's still greed in that lineup currently, because you still, like, for instance...
In the Direwolves one?
In Direwolves, yeah, because there's one pick, I think they 2-0'd Chiefs, right? But I don't think teams should... Like, I like Jhin mid, like, I like the concept, I like the idea, but that should get, like, picked apart. Like, I think that there are certain points in their play where they're really picking it up, but I think there's still some weaknesses.
Especially because he was sitting without Flash for the longest time against or across from an Azir. There definitely were moments that Direwolves left themselves exposed.
Yeah, so my point is just I want to see them test it a little more. I want to see some teams start to take it to them.
All right, cool. So both teams actually looking for a little bit more consistency out of their roster and lineup. As we actually jump into this one, want to grab your predictions before we get onto Summoner's Rift. Ross, who are you going with today and why?
I'm going to go with the Direwolves because I do honestly think that they are, right now, they're kind of that perfect merge of where the Chiefs are smart on the map as well as the talent that Legacy have on their roster to carry from all 3 positions on the map. I think that they just have more tricks. They have more champion pool or a wider champion pool. Like if you look at Luch, wave clear priority, whereas Fantix can play both the assassin as well as the wave clear. So I think they just have more options to execute on.
Are they the best squad in the league?
Yes, right now.
Whoa,
Direwolves,
2
I
best
think,
squads
are
in
the
the
best.
league. Legacy, if you're watching, please give me something here in game number 2, Raz.
Yeah, I would say, I swear, every single time I think it's going to be a 2-0, it comes to bite me with Abyss, right? I'll say it's 2-0 for Direwolves, but of course I could be surprised.
Statistically, it should be a 2-1. It's Abyss.
Yeah, it certainly is. However, guys, of course, both of these teams are trying to battle their way towards the OPL final. You can be there too. As you can see, the tickets are now on sale August 13, Courier Mail Piazza in Brisbane, Queensland. That's where it's going to be at. And if you can't get along there, jump online, go to the HOYTS. You can see the website on your screen right now. It's os.lolesports.com/VP. However, you heard enough from us on the desk tonight. We're going to throw you over to our casters for game 1. It's Rogi and Rusty.
Thank you so much, Spawn. Rogi and Rusty here to get you guys into game number 1. And Rusty, looking at Direwolves right now, they're a team we know that are beaming with confidence, and who can blame them over their past few results? But you've got to keep in mind, the last team that underestimated Abyss ended up losing 2-0 to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Abyss are the underdogs that we didn't expect to see them go 2-0 against the Chiefs. I don't think anybody expected that, but you can't sleep on this team, and they've made that a very evident factor. I mean, Abyss across the board now are starting to stamp their foot down and find themselves as an identity as a team.
That's exactly right. Very strong players in Pac-Man and Luch, so let's see if this draft phase tends to favor them. You can see the rise being taken away immediately. Luch did an absolute number on that when he gets his hands on it.
Yeah, and that's the real question we need to ask about this one. Pac-Man had a stellar game 1 against the Chiefs. Game 2 was carried through by Luch, but Seb's also a very important member to this team. Key factor when it comes to the early game strength that they have. So the top side of the map for Abyss needs to start firing. But they're against Chippy, Sybil, and Fantix, 3 of the strongest players in the league.
Right.
That's not an easy thing to do, but we set that against the Chiefs, right?
That's exactly right, Abyss Red. They've got a lot to prove here tonight. Sure, taking the Chiefs is a momentous occasion for this team, but you heard the desk. Direwolves looking like the #1 squad in the league right now, so Abyss, they still have a huge mountain to overcome here. Catch you guys back up. We see the Vladimir band, no surprise, on the red side, and Rek'Sai to follow.
So Rek'Sai being taken away from Seb. Direwolves on the blue side of the map have all of the target bands. Red side for Abyss means that they can get rid of 1 or 2, maybe target bands, depending on what Direwolves do. They've been nice enough to get 1 off.
Yep. The Twisted Fate onto Fantix. Not going to see him roaming around the map, making those global objective plays. Shen also getting taken away. So 2 of those global-esque champions not going to see play tonight.
Yeah, big focus actually on the global champions. Ash, the remaining one that we know Raid can play. Raze also has shown he's a quite good facilitator. I would actually imagine, I think between both of them, that even Ezreal will be a higher priority.
Smart ban here, taking away the Aurelia from Chippies. We've seen him, when on that champion, just go completely off. So see what Direwolves prioritize for that #1 pick spot here tonight.
Could very easily be the jungle position. Could also be the support role where T-Gun has the propensity to play that Karma.
Karma, very good champion. We see a lot of first rotation Karmas coming through. Doesn't really give away too much of what your comp wants to do. Just allows you guys to speed up and get a lot of pseudo health on those shields.
Yeah, that's right. Mobility forwards or backwards. The shields are there. The lockdown with the W also, and it can be flexed between mid and support. So damage or not damage. Very mobile champion that the Direwolves have locked in, of course. Does leave open some strong jungle tools, perhaps for Seb. Same thing to be said about the top lane role, with that Aurelia being banned.
The hover of the Elise right now. And the other champion maybe in the Gragas, but Seb locks that one in, and Luch, first rotation on the Azir. They don't want Direwolves to get their hands on that one, that's for sure.
And then there's still definitely the Victor and champions like that available. So the priority for Abyss is, yeah, partly denying from Fantix, but definitely giving to Luch, trying to set him up on the best champion they possibly can give to him. Seb having a gank-heavy jungler. Makes sense, that's his style as a jungler. He wants to get the ganks off, he's early pressure, but it's not so much the counter-jungling, it's more so the getting kills off in lane. Sybil, he'll still have the Zac or the Gragas to fall back to. I'm sure he's got an abundance of champions ready to go.
Now that the Aurelia's been taken away, they could be looking at this Trundle, kind of the next best thing if you look past the Jax.
The funny thing is about the Trundle, though, is that it's the best thing. Even statistically, it wins the most games. The Jax is like a Chippy's niche pick, whereas Trundle just does it all.
That's exactly right. So wouldn't be surprised to see them lock that one in the Terra in the top lane. Trundle himself in the Jhin. We've seen this guy in multiple games, even having a debut in the mid lane in the OPL, but should be seeing him on Raze tonight.
You should be.
Let's not rule it out. Let's not rule it out immediately.
Don't count the chickens before they hatch when it comes to Direwolves. In fact, all 3 champions, weirdly enough, are flex picks on their side.
Sure.
Although the expectations are that we have seen our bot lane and top lane locked in. We get the possibility to counter pick now in that jungle role, which they've already seen what they're against, but perhaps the decision is more biased onto the remaining member, which you would assume would be a top lane pick.
Interesting to see. Abyss, they have that Hecarim available to them. We saw Pac-Man just do a number on the Chiefs last week, so don't count it out before it's happened, but hovering that Blitzcrank and the Wukong, surely not going to see that tonight. Maybe the Nami, maybe the Janna.
And we should see a Janna or a Nami.
Ooh, the Gnar, actually, so... Don't know, I understand Gnar in theory, I just haven't seen it being used practically yet, so...
Yeah, that's because every single team in the OPL that's tried to play the Gnar has lost against the Trundle. Picked into Trundle specifically, lost to Trundle specifically every single time. It's curious. I believe the last time we saw Abyss playing it with Pac-Man on it, it did well.
Okay.
But they didn't win the game.
Yeah. And that's kind of the main reason you want to do well, is enough to win the game. So let's see if Pac-Man has been putting in his hours on the Gnar and can really make it shine tonight against Chippies, who is no easy opponent, that's for sure.
I guess the cool thing about that Gnar lockdown is the Elise should be looking up there because it snowballs extremely heavily. You go for the Black Cleaver build, you've got Chase, you're a mini Mega Gnar, so you've got team fighting at all times when you hit that form. It does come down a little bit, though, to what Seb can provide for you. Otherwise, Chippies can kind of run away with it if he's allowed.
It's a great point here. Direwolves, 5 seconds left on the clock. Let's see what they go with that last 2 picks here. And could this potentially be either the mid lane Jhin again or the mid lane Ezreal? Who knows? But What we do know is Gragas for Sybil in the jungle.
Yeah, so it should be that mid lane Jhin once again for Direwolves. And it's an interesting pick. I think Raz actually touched on it very briefly on the analyst desk. Greedy is one way to describe it. He needs the flash and ghost because without that mobility, he's just all sitting duck. And now that he's against an Azir that can shuffle his way in, lock him down, he's against an Elise that can actually get cocoons from the side of the map or from the side of the lane.
Yeah.
You might want cleanse, and then you're losing one of your big spells that you need. So Fantix actually picks himself into a risky matchup, even knowing what they were.
Let's see if it pays off for him tonight. It is, like you said, a very, very risky pick, but we saw when it does well, it really does pay dividends here. Let's see if Abyss can punish that one. They have the means to. Let's just see if they can execute. Just waiting on the last character here. Could potentially be the Sivir. There it is on the hunt. Can match the Karma speed boost.
Yeah, and you'd expect it to be that Sivir, given the Jhin and Ezreal are currently missing from his capabilities on the other side of the Rift, or already being locked down. Both team compositions now finished. I like what the Direwolves have put together for them individually. Maybe the Jhin has question marks, but we've seen it work to great degrees of success. So Fantix once again locking down one of his signature champions. They've got pretty good disengage. Honestly, from the Direwolves, it comes down to that Ezreal Jhin poke.
Both these teams coming off Super Week feeling very, very good about the current state. Of course, Abyss, they want to make that playoff spot, so a win for them tonight would do wonders. But Direwolves, they're looking like no slouch as of late, so it's going to be a very, very difficult fight for Abyss tonight.
Yeah, remember the Direwolves and Abyss are now going to be playing against each other for the second time in this split of the OPL. Last time we saw them play, Abyss actually did take a game away from them, so wouldn't be shocking to see that happen again. They've got the tools to do so.
Abyss, like you heard on the desk, they've 2-1 either in their wins or defeats, only actually 2-0ing the Chiefs recently, so this squad very, very good and nothing to look over. Of course, guys, if you want to get on Twitter, show your support for Direwolves, hashtag DWWin, or if you want Abyss Esports to do a repeat of last week, hashtag AEWin, and show your support, show your love to these teams and get your voice heard.
Yeah, both of these teams have had a lot of growth in this split. Direwolves in particular had their boot camp at the LG offices, I believe, and they've come back looking completely reinvigorated. But Abyss also making big strides towards their place in the playoffs to move further into this split.
Alrighty, guys, we are jumping into game number 1, series number 1, Direwolves taking on Abyss Esports. See Jhin going for a bit of the Zed build there, getting himself that longsword and 3.
Yeah. I mean, Zed can do that because he doesn't have mana problems. He doesn't necessarily care too much, and it's his build path that's the most important thing. But Jhin actually shares build paths with Zed when you think about it. Ghostblade into more of Malmortius. And the Duskblade as well. They're identical in that respect. And so starting with the longsword means that you can trade with Luch. You still get the AD. You're just missing the health. One thing that Zed does provide you is being a melee champion. He has a higher base armor and MR and a little bit of extra health in comparison to that of a Jhin. So he's running a big risk by doing this.
Does have the extra 2 potions, though, to kind of allow him to heal up any of the poke he should take.
The trick with that, however, is that he is against kill pressure from Set.
True.
So if the Elise shows up in the middle lane, that missing health doesn't help you. If you don't die, the potions might help you, but if you do, then you're just in a lot of trouble.
That's exactly right. You can't heal all your health if it's all gone, but as you saw, both teams just mirroring each other here, getting down those deep wards, looking for the optimal lanes. Surely Pac-Man would want to go up against the Trundle, considering they picked specifically for it.
Yeah, so Abyss actually spotted doing their lane swap, so the immediate movement from Direwolves is to match it. So whether Pac-Man wanted those standard lanes or not, they're going to be gifted that, as Direwolves choose to be standard. And with an Ezreal Karma, with a lot of poke available between these two champions, I don't blame them. However, Abyss have now just started with a full camp advantage. So if they can get through this health disadvantage to level 2, they might be set up well.
Yeah, Regret wasn't able to get in and get the harass we see those Karmas love to do early on, but gets a nice bit of poke down onto T-Gun, forcing the early potion. But he's got himself the coin, so he will have that passive health regen to compensate.
Raid losing a lot of health here just to get to minions. One of the problems with this Janna lane is already being very present for you. You would almost say that Karma is the more efficient laning version of a Janna. Has the shield, but also has damage to boot. And now these guys are going to be completely zoned away, because Direwolves, they get that quick level 2 mark. Of course, the CS between them will get caught up.
That was looking harsh up in the top lane. So we see Fantix and Luch just hasn't really done anything, any trading blows just yet, just farming up what they can. Pac-Man and Chippies both hitting level 2 around the same mark, but you can see already Pac-Man does have a bit of a CS lead. A lot of minions there for Chippies to get, and Seb actually going for an invade. Sybil is low. Red going to be able to block the cocoon should it happen. Smites it away for some health, but he's going to have to give this one over to Seb.
Yeah, really good movement from Seb once again. We called him a very strong jungler last week, and he proved it to be true. Gets himself a very free red buff and forces Sybil off it, so has knowledge of the Gragas, his positioning, as well as taking the major buff from him, forcing Sybil to smite for health. Big win.
That's exactly right here. So let's see if he can make something happen with those small advantages, and Regret taking the opportunity of his opposing lane being pushed in to get some wards on the enemy's red buff. See if Sybil wants to adventure in there, considering the lane pressure is currently in favor of his bot lane.
Yeah, something that makes a lot of sense, honestly, from Direwolves is putting a ward on that red buff. As Fantix.
Fantix might be in trouble here. Remember, he doesn't have any cleanse. Forces the flash Seb alone. Well played.
This is why you run cleanse when you're playing mid lane Jhin against an Elise in general. Of course, the cleanse not too useful against most other things on that team, and that's in part the problem. The Ghost is also the much more valuable spell to actually use early, opposed to a flash if you wanted to compare the two. And so forcing a flash is actually really nice from Seb once again, stepping up big in this series so far.
Which means that Sybil can't go for that invade he was looking to do on the red buff since his mid laner was quite low. Down in the bot, Pac-Man getting that mega form, but these two guys looking quite healthy at the moment. As you can see, Chippies is starting to catch back up in CS once the wave does crash the tower. Quite easy the last second time to whip that chomp, and great timing on catching him in mini, but takes the poke back no matter what.
Yeah, these two are just going to be pretty back and forth. Once again, we already spoke towards potentially the necessity of jungle pressure down there. Once again, we're not going to be seeing that anytime soon, as junglers are actually on the opposite side of the map, potentially looking to match each other. One of Sybil's strengths as a jungler is usually knowing where the opposition is.
Both of them making their recalls, but Seb, he's got about 10 CS more to his name, and those jungle camps are worth quite a pretty penny here. His buy is going to be very favorable as we see Sybil completes his item and also gets a Hunter's Potion. Whereas Seb, he gets a pink ward, refillable, and some boots to boot.
Yeah, so gets the extra move speed, gets the vision as a big bonus. Sybil can prolong his stay in the jungle from this point though.
True.
And might be better off for it in the end, dependent on what Seb does right now. If the gank gets off, if the Elise is proven to be successful with this item purchase, then Abyss could well and truly snowball.
Well, here comes Regret, level 3 Karma. Luch is only level 5. The snare comes through. Does he have enough to get himself out? Has to flash, has to heal. Great roam from Regret.
Yeah, Fantix did a lot of that damage by himself. Regret just comes in to seal the deal, essentially. But does use his Igniter. Seb's now here. There's no flash on Fantix.
Oh no, he does have the red buff, the boots to get him in range. But look at the damage coming out from Luch. It's not going to matter though. It's first blood going to Abyss's Luch.
And this is the weakness that a Jhin provides to your team. Honestly, does a lot of damage, is doing well in his 1v1, but can't follow it up as they're now coming in.
Sybil's been spotted out, but it's not going to matter. A flash body slam from Sybil nets him that one. Regret's still here though to back him up. Look at the damage coming out from the Elise. Just procking the red buff every time he can. Regret and Sybil forced to turn tail and run.
Yeah, Septic's level 6, and whilst it's not a big buff for any Elise to have, he does have a lot of minions and power generally from that experience backing him up. And in a 1v2, he's able to push them both off. Good movement from Direwolves to get a trade in that situation. The Fantix Jhin being exploited.
Yeah, you saw how much damage he was able to dish out before eventually going down aloud for Sybil to do a great rotation over. Looks like he was spotted out walking as well. There are a few wards there, so maybe Luch just got greedy for that one, not respecting the body slam flash combo.
Yeah, I think what he didn't actually expect would have been the Karma.
Yeah, okay.
That coming from the top side. As the one-person Gragas wasn't going to be a big deal when Seb was still next to you, right? I mean, in fact, you could have maybe baited him in. But goes down for it. Luch pays the iron price.
Down the bot lane, we see Pac-Man and Chippy still just trading blows, not too much going on. Both yet to actually go back and purchase, so still just sitting on the generic items at the moment. Being quite free from any jungle pressure, which we thought would be a little bit different coming into this one.
And they're kicking it old school with that lack of jungle pressure. It's definitely an island, but they're not on top lane. They're definitely in Australian lanes. So these two, whilst they're not really doing a lot, not hitting each other, I'd say this is good for Pac-Man. Just by having that ranged advantage will naturally start to win his lane. And the question is always coming back to this jungle threat. Where is it? When's it going to be there? And if at any moment, because neither of them have backed, a jungler appears, that jungler will be able to have kill threat from his damage alone, from him having backed.
That's exactly right. We see Seb just hovering around that river, but doesn't really look like he has much in his sights despite counter warding. Red buff is now available. Did have the advantage of getting the timings down on that one. Gets himself a few wards down.
Yeah, and they're going to be spotting where Sybil is at the same time with T-Gun, which means whilst he gets this red, he can threaten his own red and take it away safely. And with that knowledge, they may have even forced the smite from Sybil, but they didn't. Of course, a big collapse from Direwolves.
Looks like Seb doing a great job of jungling this game. Fantix just pops the ulti to get a few last hits here. Will the final one get the cannon?
Yeah, he will.
A massive 387 damage crit on that cannon, so just using that one to lane.
Actually a good decision.
Yep.
He had no health when he went towards that blue buff. Clears the wave efficiently enough. Luch obviously doesn't want to block a crit to stop him from getting minions. That'd be a little bit silly. So he gets the full clear. Something that Jhin does have is that unique utility of the ultimate.
Looks like Pac-Man and Chippies have both gone back to buy, but Seb in the bot lane should be applying that red buff. Flash available for Chippy should he choose to use it. Chucks down the subjugate. A nice cocoon though. Is it enough to get him? A kill goes over to Pac-Man.
Seb is showing up massive right now in this game. Absolutely putting on a clinic. Chippy's flashing into it. Was still a good reaction, honestly, to even use the flash. To no avail, as whether it was predicted or not, he still hit it, and that is what matters. And we get to see that one again. Waits for the moment that Chippy's only had the wall left to move to. He even flashed a good direction, Chippy's. It wasn't straight, would have hit him. He flashed upwards whilst going towards his turret, but still got clipped by it.
Yeah, Seb is having a beautiful series right now, from counter jungling to invading, to ganking rather, at the perfect time. Chippies didn't really stand a chance going for that damage over the health. Pac-Man just melted him.
Yeah, Chippies really did, of course, having the team out build, as you mentioned. He'll do a lot of damage, he'll have a lot of sustain against the Gnar, but now that there's a 1-0 Gnar and a lot of jungle pressure now starting to be applied around the map, you would say this is potentially the start of a great game from Abyss.
This is interesting. Have we seen many Azirs favor that Morellonomicon over the the first item?
We're starting to see it a lot more now. Berserker Greaves with Morellonomicon seems to be the Azir go-to. It's a little bit different, but they gave 5% extra attack speed on the Berserker Greaves. You run attack speed in your runes, and so you have about 55% bonus. It makes up for it. You just need to get adjusted to how it feels, having a little bit less.
Oh, well, Fantix, he knows what it feels like to be ganked time and time again. Seb actually comes around the backside, doesn't hit the cocoon. Sybil is there. Level 7. Goes in, gets the barrel onto Seb. Here comes the curtain call. Isn't enough. Heal used by Luch. Sybil actually on the back foot now. Luch has to block these ones away. Pac-Man teleports in as Regret also makes his presence known.
Yeah, this Pac-Man threat could be enough to push them away if he chooses to stay here. But meanwhile, top and bottom, they need to show respect to what the Direwolves are doing. So this is an aggressive move from Abyss now. They've committed to this.
They might not have enough to get the tower, but they might have enough to get Fantix, who the shield keeps him alive for now.
And that skittering spider.
Ooh.
That was dangerously close. Thankfully, of course, has a Hex Drinker. The blue shield that popped up was that. Abyss now pressuring once again. The Direwolves try and make their trade.
Oh, Regret gets hit by the cocoon, snares up Seb. That may have saved his life. Sybil coming back just in time.
They're using their own health bars as a resource. As Chippies.
Oh, Pac-Man might be in trouble. Subjugate goes down, shredding all that armor and health. Does still have the tower for safety, but as you can see, Chippies did a number on it.
One of the things that I quite like and why I'm not too sold on the Gnar into Trundle matchup is how the Trundle actually works into him. If it takes any resistances, Gnar has a lot in Mega, but has none in Mini. So if you time it right, you actually just ruin him.
We'll see if Chippies can show us a little bit of that utility that unfortunately Gnar's kit does provide him.
Because Mini Gnar has like the lowest stats of I think every champion. Mega has the highest. as you'd expect. But it means that Trundle, again, can exploit that.
That's a great point to mention, and should be seeing that later on, as so far Pac-Man hasn't used the Mega too much for any advantages, just using it for lane pressure.
One other thing, when we were looking at this, actually, we've actually got Sybil making his way in.
Looks like Fantic, Luch wants to go for the trade here, but Fantic's still alive, gets hit by the
Nice
tower, flashes
flash.
over, does he have enough? No! Fantic survives that one by the skin of his teeth.
Fantastic flash, but he was looking for the trade, not to get out with his life. There's no point running away from a Jin, because once that fight is committed, you're committed to the outcome of it. Good awareness, bad outcome this time around for Abyss.
Yeah, Luch just unfortunately misses out on that one. Didn't have the Berserker Greaves picked up for him just yet, so some of that attack speed, lacking attack speed, really hurting him in this early game.
That was literally the point I was going to make before it happened as well. Luch, the option to itemize towards the finished Morello-Nomicon instead of Berserker Greaves is something that is definitely his style, but it's not something that I would commonly see. Boots are actually very much prioritized in most regions to be completed early. These two are just going to...
Ships in the night right now, but Seb may be caught out here as Regret is there also. Jin making his way down, Raze coming down a nice little side step, avoids the deadly flourish and avoids death.
Soft little curve to the left is all that it really takes. AD carries have been isolated, top laners have been isolated. This game's being won through mid-jungle and supports now starting to work together, but once again, Regret's got his boots of mobility. T-Gun has gone for the Sight Stone, but's actually upgraded his medallion. Interesting choices to be seen and stylistic differences between both of these teams in this game.
And it's a great point to mention here as top lane is just trading blows. Pac-Man does have Mega on the rise. Chippy's wisely backs off out of that one as the house does connect.
He does have life steal. Seb.
Oh no, Seb, does he have a chance of getting away from this one? Does a lot of damage down onto Regret, repels up onto Raze. Do they have enough to kill him? One more auto attack should do. The heal comes down from Raze. T-Gun gets slammed into the wall. Ulti not going to land. T-Gun in trouble though, forced to flash Raid. Just turning around, doing some damage. Both teams walk away.
Yeah, Raid does some good damage to potentially deter them, as mid laners have evidently fought each other throughout this. Seb lives, but the Gragas cask, which was used in an attempt to last hit them, actually pushed them out of the Ezreal ultimate. So unfortunately, Direwolves, they find an opportunity to go. They pull the trigger on that, but they don't get the outcome they were looking for this time as Fantix.
Luch getting interrupted there.
Yeah.
No curtain call available just yet. Must have used that in an earlier exchange here. Luch has a little bit of a CS lead. Might get evened up now as Fantix just clear out this wave, no troubles.
Yeah, it's like 45 seconds until his ulti was available, so not to be seen. But Fantix starting to up that pressure he seems to have in the middle lane. Of course, more of Malmortius means he has armor penetration and relative tankiness to what the Azir can do to him. Working out well enough for now.
Both teams making their way down to this bot lane. Looks like Direwolves first to get themselves on the board in terms of tower taken. That bot lane tower does fall from the pressure that Chippy's put on the lane and the rotation as well. Everyone making their way into T-Gun, flashes in. Can Sybil get the kill? T-Gun, he's got no flash available from the earlier fights in the top. On the hunt has been used to try and get T-Gun to safety. He's still alive. Somehow the shield keeps him safe for now. Regret the next
Teleports
point of
are in.
focus. Teleport coming in on the back. Luch, he's got him through on the flank. Pac-Man is there. One more attack. Ezreal does fall, looking onto Sybil. Regret, his health bar still flashing red. They get their kill now. Chippies, he's in the wrong spot with 4 members barreling down on him.
Yeah, it's most likely that he's going to go down. The collapse is still here.
Oh, flashes the stun, but the flash cocoon not going to land Chippies. He's still running. He's still making it away. The red buff is for Seb. Can he get the chomp down in time? They might just straight up dive him here.
It might be.
Oh, they get it. There it is. Raid picks that one up. And before that all started, I was going to say the Dragon, no one's even made their way over to that one yet.
Yeah, everyone actually rotates to the bottom side of the map for that, as these two now starting to hit each other.
Oh, looks like they are going to get set up. Luch in trouble now as Curtain Call comes down, pops the heal, but Fantix immediately regrets that decision.
He was actually starting to tank minions, and the Azir's cooldowns were back up and available. So Fantix uses the ulti, but reduces the cooldown by about 30% by cancelling it. And now everything settles, but Abyss in complete control of the map.
They get themselves the Dragon. They get themselves the bot lane tower. Now they're looking for that mid. They've got 3 members situated there as Pac-Man actually rotating up to the top. Now that they have that Mountain Dragon, those outer towers should fall quite handily.
It absolutely should have, because Direwolves were the first to put this swap into effect. They moved the the Ezreal and Karma down. Sivir and Janna matched, but it was late, and so the turret fell. But look at Abyss's setup for this dragon. That is a well-covered dragon area with about 74 million wards. Now Direwolves actually threatening the top side of the map, so it's coming down to these turrets that they want to take. They want to accelerate the game through objective control, but they don't want to outright fight Abysses. Scary Pac-Man.
Pac-Man just holding the ulti. Sybil was there should have anything went awry for his team, but after that little skirmish in the bot lane, Abyss do get themselves about 3,000 gold in the lead here, picking up 2 turrets off the back of a few kills as well.
This is really cute from Sybil. He doesn't have flash, so he'd have to just throw the keg from the bush or hit a body slam. Raid has spell shield. If they can force the spell shield, then perhaps they can threaten it.
T-Gun's there also to keep him safe. Has the Monsoon available. Look at the damage coming down. Regret actually going to pop before anything could happen. Flashes the body slam from Sybil. There's the curtain call from the mid laner. T-Gun gets hit by it once. Looks like it was cancelled. Fantix just going to ghost his way up, and a double kill for Raze.
Fantix gets in. Seb's now nearby, but Raze is popping off. This Ezreal's starting to warm up. However, Abyss, they are happily making these trades because mid lane, Luch might die for this, but he's definitely getting it.
Yeah, just throws down the ulti, then zips away, puts the turret down behind him. Chippy's in hot pursuit, so are the rest of Direwolves. Seb goes in with the Hex. Not going to hit anything just yet, though. Few minions do tank the tower, allows Fantix to walk through, but they've got the sight onto Sybil. Body slams away. Luch is quite low. 4th shot in the chamber right now for Fantix.
And they don't get it, so Direwolves, they just kind of run away, losing the turret. And of course, Luch now trying to defend his own. Don't be silly, Luch. It's not a real turret. Concede.
It's real enough to Luch. And we know this guy loves his last hits. Deadly Flourish does connect, causing him to blink red, so he can't stay around for much longer.
No, and if he goes back to base, perhaps the Direwolves have an opportunity to look mid, but Luch with the Janna nearby may have enough health. The rest of Abyss are collapsing as once again we've seen them make some good plays.
Regret might be in trouble, goes in for the pink ward. Seb goes forward with the Proto Belt, lands a Cocoon. T-Gun with the support allows Seb to pick that one up.
Now 4-7 in kills, and that gold lead's crept up to about 3,000. Abyss Esports starting to look dominant, honestly, throughout all of this map in game number 1. This is very impressive. A team off the back of beating the Chiefs 2-0. Now up against what is effectively a top 2 team, and the Direwolves beating them.
Yeah, they really want to show everyone that it wasn't a fluke, that they have got what it takes to run with the greats in the OPL, and what a better time to do it. They're facing down the barrel here, looking for to make that top 4 playoff spot, and getting a win against Direwolves would really increase their odds.
Yeah, and remember, these 2 teams have played against each other. The last time they met, it was 2-1 to Direwolves. They got themselves rolling in that 3rd game, but it proves that Abyss have a recipe for success when playing against the Wolves. And right now they're putting it into effect, so we'll see if they can continue this upward trend. If they can actually take them apart, if the Direwolves will get that team fight in the mid-game. Actually start playing towards their strategy, which is have the Jhin and the Ezreal and the Karma poke together and start sieging.
It looks like they're starting that right now. 4 members making their way over to the mid. Raid doing a good job of defending that one. Takes a few Qs to the face, though. T-Gun wasn't there to shield that one off.
And that's the strength of this team composition. Yes, it hasn't been used to its fullest, but they've just started looking at it as an avenue for them to approach. If they get poke off with the Ezreal Q, the Karma Q, even a Gragas Keg, and a Trundle Pillar, God forbid he gets one of those and it hits somebody, the Jhin can lock them down. If they're locked down, there's the threat of engage. So Abyss, picking up that Janna, could actually prove invaluable for them as they move towards their actual way of winning the game themselves, and that'd be team fighting with the Mega Gnar.
They really don't want to allow Direwolves to get in that position that you just mentioned, allowing them to knock off all those skill shots. They're trying to stay as mobile as they can, keep Direwolves reacting to their plays. And so you see Seb going for a little bit of counter warding here, denying visions that Dragon, spawning about a minute 10. It is another mountain. They've got themselves a few towers already, so will still be very helpful. Sybil, though, has to walk on out of that one.
Yeah, but the control of the Direwolves jungle being established by Abyss really does stamp the foot down and potentially close that door for the next Drake that'll be up soon enough. Gives Raid the confidence to be where he stands right now. Gives Abyss the freedom to move. However, the Direwolves are a fast composition. And they're closing distance.
Yep, On the Hunt has been used. Counter response to, of course, regrets Karma. Seb was up quite far with nowhere to repel to.
But in the battle of cooldowns, Direwolves win that one.
Oh, definitely.
Albeit by a small amount. And right now, Pac-Man threatening the top side of the map actually could be a positive trade-off for them. Even Luch posturing up there means that perhaps they threaten the dive. T-Gun's caught.
Fighting on both fronts may end up biting Abyss as T-Gun actually in a world of hurt. Regret also experiencing the pain, but now it's a 4v2 in the bot. Ray gets chunked out. Looks like he just has to turn tail and fight Seb.
Got it.
He got the kill, but he's going to go down for it. Does sidestep, gets hit by the barrel, though, so a massive amount of slow. Can Abyss answer? They do with a tower in the top.
Yeah, and right now the Ezreal is the one trying to deal with an Azir and a Gnar, and there is no way that he can do it. The Direwolves, however, get themselves 3 big picks. Not only is Seb down, but Raid and T-Gun are gone, and that's their facilitators. There was a preliminary ping after that fight was won by Direwolves onto the Baron, but that's very unlikely given that the Gnar and the Azir are still at full strength. So instead they look towards the objective and the free gold in this middle lane, even above all else considering the Drake is up.
Yeah, mid tower should fall no troubles. We see Pac-Man still trying to put pressure in on that top lane to alleviate that of Direwolves so they don't get themselves more. Lucha's finally made his way back in, but he seems to be attracted to the beautiful animations of the Deadly Flourish here.
Yeah, so Fantix is actually level 14 now, which means he's got 5 points in his Q and his W. The E, of course, scaling heavily with your AD opposed to anything else. There's not a whole lot of purpose besides cooldown in maxing it. And so that W now are going to be able to do a lot of poke when it comes to sieging situations, fighting for objectives. Direwolves, though, the inclination towards hard engaging seems to be the deterrent in this.
Despite being spotted out, Direwolves don't choose to pull the trigger. A few of their members weren't in position just yet, so they just get themselves a second Mountain Drake. These turrets are looking weaker and weaker as the game goes on. In the mid lane now, Luch and Co. trying to keep that at bay. Got himself that Rylas Crystal Scepter, so big power spike for the Azir.
Yeah, definitely is a big spike. The top side of the map for Abyss looking extremely solid. Moving into this game, that's exactly what we expected of them. But that build, once again, from Pac-Man, it really is starting to perplex me. You get the Black Cleaver, you get 20% cooldown reduction, you get Chase, you get Kite, and a bit of health to boot. You also get Armor Shred against somebody that barely has armor, so you'll be doing a lot of damage, right?
Yeah.
And then you go for the Frozen Mallet. And the question is, what are you looking to achieve that the Black Cleaver doesn't already provide? And what is your goal behind that? Because it's not team fighting until you have 4 items now instead of 3. If you can't kill the Trundle, a champion that gets 2 items and can't get pushed out of lanes, then what is it actually worth to you?
That's a fair point to make. Let's see if it can actually show us why this is a build path he's chosen.
The real problem with it is that you don't have a second item resistance item. You're against Fantix and Raze, who are both armor penetration on one of them and physical damage on the other, both being physical champions. Get an armor item early. Maybe get a Sunfire, maybe get a Randuin's even against the Jhin, who has guaranteed crits.
Great point.
And maybe set yourself up for a mid-game team fight where your team is snowballing and is about 3,000 gold ahead. Instead decides that the 4v4 is perhaps how Abyss want to win it, and that he wants the 1v1.
It seems to me like he's relying a bit too heavily on those Mega Gnar stats that he gets. And just seems to be running away anytime he's in small form, which of course is that Gnar playstyle, but you are right, he would benefit quite greatly from a Randuin's Omen. See if that is in his build path future.
We've never seen a Mega Gnar used accurately in the OPL in the past week.
It's a great point as well. So
it's the only time we've
see
seen
if
one this
it
clip.
could be the first. Down in the bot lane though, Chippy just has to respect him still. Can't really stand to fight him. Is a level behind at the moment and only does have 1 offensive item.
Yeah, well, Chippy just wants to fight the minions. He's like the Sivir, essentially, of the top lane, where eventually you can ignore Pac-Man. Once you get to that point, great. But until that point, just sit back and hit the minions. You've got sustain anyway. Pac-Man's a nuisance, but he's a 3-0-1 Gnar that's got less teamfight influence potentially than you. Or the same, which is where the issues really start to come out for Abyss.
He's got himself 2 stacks of that Mountain Drake. I'm sure he could have got a few shots on that tower, but chooses to go for the Trundle autos instead. Just going to regen that every minion wave that comes. Don't think he can really poke him down, especially with the Spirit Visage and a Ravenous Hydra.
Can't poke him down. Even if you get the Trundle to half health,
Yeah.
you turn to Mega, no longer have that presence, and Chippies with a single minion wave gets back to full. Direwolves now starting to pressure actually with Vision, or at least match that of Abyss around the Baron area. And that's where the games really lie right now. These two are just going to hit each other a lot. Really nothing doing. But past this point, there's 4v4s everywhere.
See who has the stronger. Abyss is still in the lead by about 3,000 gold, 7 kills to 8, favoring Abyss, but the poke coming down from Direwolves. That's just one deadly flourish onto T-Gun. Waters him about, but it looks like Chippies wants to go for something here. No, he doesn't, as he just walks away.
We're going to see the rinse and repeat. Of course, pressuring from Chippy stops any teleports, and it's the right movement if Direwolves are looking to engage, which it feels like, based off their aggression that Sibyl's now putting down for them, they are.
Look at that positioning. Really wants to try and make something happen here as Pac-Man back down to Mini Naso. Doesn't pose the same amount of threat. Luch forced to back off. As Fantix just does what he wants in that mid lane for now. Could Sybil be potentially looking at this bot lane?
No way.
Just going for the Raptors, getting himself that smite buff.
Yeah, bringing a smite down to the bottom lane would be very risky. Sooner or later, this turret will fall, and Abyss pulling a Trundle on a Trundle, but it's a slow process. Chippy's not having a great time, but once again, Pac-Man will hit Mega. He has the threat of stuns, but he can't stop sustain. We're just seeing the rinse and repeat. Abyss not making any positive movements. They're not getting around Summoner's Rift and securing objectives. They're just playing League of Legends slow, and this is giving Direwolves opportunities to get into this game.
You can tell just by the way that Direwolves have kind of poised themselves these last few engagements around the Baron that are looking to make the fight and looking to make it happen sooner rather than later. And so we saw Luch go back, pick himself up that Void Staff and Elixir of Brilliance as well.
Like again, Raid, decent CS lead. Mid lane for Luch, decent CS lead. All of that CS is not being translated into anything major, and perhaps it was about those item spikes, but it's definitely right now that Abyss have all of those item spikes, because that's 3 items on the Sivir, 3 items on everybody actually, except for the Janna, and that's fine because he has pink wards, and that's an item slot.
Looks like Pac-Man actually swapped it up, going up to that top lane to lay some pressure down now. This will allow Direwolves to go in and clear out all the vision that Abyss had spent laying for the last few minutes or so, but got their sights set on this Air Drake potentially.
Yeah,
3 members actually up top for Pac-Man. Does
Really
have that
risky.
Guardian Angel.
I don't know. Pac-Man, he's definitely out of position, but it's fine. He's a super tank. He might die, but the Drake was where they seem to be actually looking. However, they're looking for structures instead, so feigning the Drake is the sign of importance. Moving them around to the top side as this is aggressive from Sybil.
Pac-Man does get denied, trying to hop out of that one. 3 members just going in. He's going to go down any minute now. Pauses, pops his Guardian Angel. He goes back into Mini. Should be quite easy for Raze to finish off. Burns the flash as well, trying to buy as much time for his team as they are making short work of that mid lane tower.
Yeah, they need to recall because mid lane's in trouble. Chippies can't defend.
He's trying his hardest. Here come the soldiers. They get the slow down. They defend the inhibitor, but that's an inhibitor turret in mid down. As you can see, Sybil actually making his way through the river to the mid lane. Could potentially see a Baron play, or a Baron bait rather, from Direwolves.
Yeah, Pac-Man actually a big waste of the Guardian Angel. Was overextended, we already said it. What he should have done was backed off and maybe poked them if they tried to recall. They now give an opportunity for 25 seconds where all of the vision control for Abyss was on the bottom side of the map near the Drake. Direwolves already controlled the Baron. This is a big mistake from Abyss Esports, gifted to the Direwolves if they lock this down.
Baron dropping to about 1,000 health. This should be it. Smite goes away. Sybil secures that one, and Abyss caught sleeping. They put all their eggs into trying to get that mid lane inhibitor. Doesn't happen. Pac-Man goes down. Baron goes down in favor of Direwolves.
Exactly. They get the turret in mid lane, but they can't push any further. Pac-Man dies quickly enough, and you might be thinking, why did he die quickly as a level 17 Rusty? Well, it appears as though he's got 2 offense items and didn't have a 3rd defensive one. Guardian Angel doesn't really provide a lot at 30 minutes in as your sole defensive item.
We really felt that one up there in the 3v1. He survived for what seemed like a couple of seconds. Wasn't enough to buy his team what they needed. Sybil posturing very aggressively onto Luch, knocks him back in. Seb's there to help him out. And they get him down. Heal comes through. The curtain call being used. Seb now in the firing line. Luch, he may just bleed out, but luckily the shield from T-Gun keeps him safe. Now Direwolves in the power play with that Baron, get themselves a couple of summoners, a mid lane tower, and now they're pressuring the mid lane inhibitor turret.
Yeah, and Luch, of course, having to go back to base. Chippies and Pac-Man both have teleports. It's almost Meganar.
Oh, Sybil takes a lot of damage. So does Ray. Ray just getting in there with the boomerang on the hunt. Has been popped. Who's his target? It might be Fantix, but Fantix turning around a lot of damage. Shield now keeping him safe. Flashes forward. Not going to land anything else. But now Sybil in the firing lines gets taken down. Ray snared up, but shouldn't be a problem. Has the Vamp Scepter to keep himself sustained. Pac-Man now can't fight Chippies.
Yeah, and his teleport actually got cancelled. Pac-Man could have had a game-winning teleport, but he did it next to the Trundle's face, and that's not going to work out for you. But Abyss, 4 members strong, and Sybil dead.
It is an open inhibitor here. Raid is quite low. It's all going to be on the Janna to keep him shielded up. Cocoon comes through onto Chippy, who just turns around with the bite. Remember, the Trundle still has Subjugate available. Pac-Man in mini. Quite a while off Rays. Very aggressive going in, but now Abyss forced to retreat. Pac-Man, he's quite close to Mega. They could potentially go for a turn, but look at the burn damage that's coming through. Regret leading the charge. Where is Jin? They're all so close. Luch actually takes that one. They're jumping away. They don't want to fight this Direwolf squad who are in hot pursuit right now. The curtain call coming down onto Seb. He's got no hope of surviving this one. One more shot should do it. Gets the repel in time.
But he's dead.
Chippies is just standing on him. Catches him on the way down.
He actually should not have repelled because T-Gun had the Mikhail's Crucible.
Yeah.
Their best bet was actually just to try and put that on him and hope that it was enough. Dies anyway. Mikhail's Crucible also burnt. Direwolves now with that Baron buff, now pushing back in a 4v5 of their own. Sybil's here.
Yeah, Raid onto Chip. He's doing a lot of damage. The tower's actually there as well. He's still alive thanks to the Karma, but look at Luch. He can't find his target. Now Raid just free to auto-attack Fantix. Gets the exhaust thrown down on his Sybil. Knocked up. Raze looking for that one. Regret gets hit by the crit. Nice spell shield. Now Raze, one more auto attack should do it. Force the heal for movement speed. The boomerang narrowly gets him a nice shutdown kill.
And this is just completely back and forth in the middle lane, trading kills for kills. Nobody's broken the inhibitors yet, but if they get here, if Fantix can't recall, which he cannot, then the opportunity is there for Abyss. This inhibitor has been poked down. We're yet to see how much it's regenerated. This should be a take. Raid's going nuts.
They're 3 members strong right now, and Raid leading the charge for Abyss. Get themselves the first inhibitor of the game on the hunt, nearly off cooldown as well, should they need to retreat from that one.
And we called him a young mechanical player. Well, they're giving opportunities for him to show those mechanics off. A lot of focus going down onto Luch and making sure that he dies. But everyone's sleeping on this Sivir, who's been hitting ricochets constantly with his crit, destroying the Direwolves.
Yeah, just cleans up that fight. Mechanical genius, you said it yourself. Abyss, though, now about 4,000 gold in the lead. 3,000, actually. Still quite even in terms of kills. Saw both teams just kind of do base to base, chasing each other down. Abyss get the better out of that one, though.
Yeah, both these teams are just on a seesaw at the moment. It's like going up and down. They're like falling one direction and then going back the other. A swing of momentum consistently is what we are seeing right now. The gold lead has not stretched in about 20 minutes, maybe about an extra 1,000 gold in Abyss's pockets. But they do have the inhibitor. They don't have a neutral to take, though, unfortunately, as they have to wait quite a while. One big win for Abyss. The Pac-Man has his GA up again, but he's yet to get into a team fight because he teleported next to the Trundle. That Gnar really hasn't shone too bright yet. Not that the Trundle's been impactful. And this is the really cool thing between these teams. Early game was jungle influence, looking around the mid lane, but the AD carries seem to be determining who's winning through the jungle, starting it off.
Raid's got himself that Bloodthirst and now just starting to stack up that shield in preparation for the Elder Dragon, who should be spawning in about 40 seconds or so. Let's see if Direwolves can contest this one, because Abyss, they've got 3 dragons to their name, amplifying the damage and bonuses that they get.
And right now, Direwolves' best play is to be slow, to work around Fantix hitting a W, locking somebody down with the trap. Abyss just want to go forward. They want to look for potential picks and more brute force-ish in the damage they want to apply to the Direwolves team, as Pac-Man might have found him. Nope.
Great slow on that barrel by Sybil. keeping himself safe, but the Elder Dragon up in 10 seconds. Vision control well and truly in favor of Abyss. Direwolves are either going to have to face check this one.
Or they
Call
can
comes
spot the
through.
ulti.
T-Gun does get caught out by Sybil, but Fantix wants the damage onto the carries. On the hunt has been popped, but now Sybil actually might be in trouble. Forces the ultimate back onto Raid. That's a huge cooldown used.
Yeah, so they actually have the Jhin ulti down, the Gragas ulti down, and only for the Sivers in response, and that's not a damage-dealing threat. They don't have vision on the area as it was swept, but now they know. They can see its health being put down, and Direwolves, they have to respond.
So this start this one off, 4,000 health left.
It's low.
The Dragon is getting lower and lower. Chippy, he's making his way in. Sybil, he has the potential to steal this one away. It's not going to matter. Those Luke secures a Pac-Man. He's quite low. Still has the Guardian Angel available. Sybil gets himself out with one of the longest body slams I've ever seen over the pillar as well. But Abyss, No Lies actually lost despite the aggressive posture of the Direwolves.
It's actually still a 5v5, and against an Elder Drake team, nobody went down. Direwolves still on the back foot though, and Abyss now looking to pressure. Seb's health bar could prove to be an issue. And the cooldown starting to come back up for the Direwolves. Got to be careful.
Raze is top as Raid making use of that massive shield he gets from the Bloodthirster and his Janna. Pac-Man now up in the top, putting pressure down on their Chippies, and Sybil doing what they can to clear out the waves. But Raid just comes in. Sybil not goes with the body slam. Forced to back off out of that one. Seb is quite low as well.
Maybe wanted to force a flash out of Raid. Didn't happen. Direwolves. Aaron.
Ooh.
Nope. They don't have the minion wave. Once again, this is used to push them away.
Vertical has been used. It is onto Seb. Do they have enough? No. Gets out of the range just in time.
Yeah, that minion wave died. Pac-Man also being Meganar. The Jhin ultimate was perfect to deter them from threatening this turret, but it's going to fall down sooner or later if they let them get onto this.
Fantix looking very strong right now. Pops the Ghostblade, goes in, forces the Mercurial Scimitar onto Raid. Gets Cocoon for his trouble. His tower is very, very low. Raid just walks in and takes it in the face of Direwolves.
In
the
trouble.
shield is there. Gets blown back in the fight. He's still alive somehow. Look at the lifesteal. Fantix picks that one up despite being exhausted. Now Pac-Man in the backline. Where is the Meganar? We've been waiting all split to see. Not there yet. Finally in onto Regret. Just bonks him in the tower. The one-man Nara. That's good enough for me.
It doesn't look like they're going to get anything more than the inhibitor, but that's now 2 big inhibs down. Abyss Esports push their way in. Even with their AD carry going down, it doesn't matter because late game Luch on this Azir is well and truly scaled. Direwolves, they do a lot of damage. They have a commendable team fight. They just have not put the pieces together well enough yet. Something's not there.
That was very aggressive positioning from Raid. They've tried to punish him, but the wall from Luch, the shields from T-Gun, it just wasn't enough to... They killed him. Didn't save the inhibitor. Saving Grace, the mid one, did respawn, as they were able to buy themselves a lot of time down in that bot lane. Baron is up.
Yeah.
Pings are going down as well from both teams.
Chippies has teleport, so if they come to it, he can go back. He was just trying to lock that down beforehand. Once again, Direwolves now on the back foot, with that Baron being a big point of power. They have to send Chippies bottom, and if they don't, then they just lose their Nexus through minions. And this is now where the 4v5 comes out, where complete control is in the red team's hands.
Very intense moment for both squads here right now. Abyss, they're in a great position. Bait this Baron, push down mid and end the game. But Direwolves, they have so much damage on Fantix's Jhin. And Chippies, he's reached kind of a fever pitch right now. He's got himself 3 massive items.
Kick it off.
Has been started for Abyss. Where are Direwolves?
That's
But
just
look
gone.
how fast it goes down. That is 2 Mountain Drakes for you. Now Regret just gets destroyed, deleted even by Ray Tagon in there to keep his Pac-Man safe. Sybil gets blown up. No hope for that one. And Abyss Esports, like we said, just going to run it straight down the mid lane.
Yeah, from the looks of it, I don't know if this is going to be enough to just outright finish the game from this point. But by being a 3v5, they can definitely look towards it. It's going to be a difficult defense. Chippies are tanky, Fantix and Raze do damage, but they're going to need to be perfection to secure anything that isn't game-ending for Abyss right now.
Smart for Abyss to push out that super minion wave as far as they could in lieu of losing that Baron. But now Chippies, Soul Defender right now. Raze and Fantix finally back in the fray. Ray doing his best, but Regret's going to be up in 2 seconds. Sybil in 10. Don't think Abyss have got it here.
Maybe not unless this wave seems to be the push, but not to be. Abyss have to walk it out. Direwolves live to see one more day, potentially. They're not out of it by any means. That team composition they have compiled is all but entirely scaled. And Abyss struggling to put that final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, Luch just needs a little bit more gold to finish off that Hourglass, currently sitting on a hat as well as all the ability power he has now finally stacking up off that one. So those soldiers are going to hurt when it comes down to it. Pac-Man finished himself off that Randuin's. Still got the GA up, so wasn't popped in the previous engagements. See T-Gun having that new and improved Ardent Sensor, giving his team a little bit more shields than they're used to, as well as the on-hit magic damage.
Changing up the build a little bit as well, Fantix goes for the Infinity Etch instead of the Dusk Blade of Drakthar. Cool. It has the Last Whisper, so still very much armor penetration build, just with a bit of added crit, having 2 crit items. Something that Jin sorely misses in a lot of his builds.
2 more of Malmortis, both on the carry, so it's going to be up to Ray to really get that massive amount of damage in. But you can see just off the ricochets alone, if they all group up, he can hit Sybil, he can hit Chippies, and poor Rays and Fantix are still going to feel it.
Yeah, once again, Direwolves, risky business when it comes to defending this. Raid's posturing aggressively out of necessity because he's the one that has to hit the turrets. Otherwise, they'll never fall down. But with the windows of Na not being mega, perhaps Direwolves try and find an engage.
And they defend this tower. They're doing their darndest. Rady learned from his mistakes before, but Luch may be the one caught out here. A beautiful time zone is keeping him safe, and that's going to fuel Abyss to go in the turret. It should fall. A few more auto attacks should do it, but here comes Fantix. Curtain Core being used at tower. It's still going down onto Pac-Man, dealing the damage. No one from Abyss can get in to kill this one. His GA has been popped. The soldier's poised to defend him. Hops his way out of that one. Dire will still defend, but that's cannon should be enough to take it out.
Yeah, Abyss still full health, so yes, they defended, but only for a moment.
Oh, no regrets being caught. One more auto attack from Raid should do, but he hits the inhibitor. Instead, shouldn't matter though. Seb Spidling cleans him up. Look at the damage coming out from this Sibba. Getting himself 2 more kills. Chippies goes down with the GA, but Abyss come in swinging. Take out the first game of the series.
Very impressive game number 1 from Abyss Esports. It seems to be a well-covered victory from the beginning until the end. The Direwolves had glimmers of hope throughout that game. They definitely showed they could take it to them, but there was never really any way into that. The door was all but closed from the start almost through the jungle pressure from Seb.
Yeah, Seb did a great job of establishing that control early and making it just snowball throughout the game. We saw them kind of sitting around that Baron at that middle game, not really accomplishing much, but Abyss already proving the critics wrong.
Absolutely. Coming into this series, we were looking at it and saying perhaps the mismatch would be in the bottom lane. Regret and Raze up against Raid and T-Gun. But Raid, one other member we have to note in that first game, had a great game.
Look, Raid did impeccably. We're going to chuck it over to the desk to see what they thought of that Game 1 performance.
Not going to catch it this time, Rogi, but that's just because they laughed at me on the desk last time. So, you know, I'll just acknowledge it, the good old Chuck. Yeah, that was a pretty impressive performance out of Abyss Esports there. Best team in the OPL. Looking at you guys. Explain, please.
First and foremost, I want to start with Raid. I called him janitorial, and Raz, that's your name. Hi, welcome to the team. No, Raz is talking about how he doesn't think he's janitorial, that he actually has a lot of potential, and I'm going to agree with that. I think that he came off as janitorial to me, again, like that Ezreal pickup is one of his primary champions, but on the Sivir, looked great and very carry-oriented. You could see the bloodthirst in his eyes that he wanted to run forward.
Yeah, exactly. And I apologize for that 2-0. I guess that's what I thought was going to happen. But, you know, never doubt Abyss to take it. Hopefully, it's a 2-0 for them, right? Let's see how that works out.
Nice pivot.
Yeah, exactly right. But I want to talk about this belief in Abyss, because if anyone could benefit from a belief in Abyss right now, it is Abyss Esports, because they're ahead for so much of that game. They had 3-item power spikes at like certain points, and they just weren't pulling the trigger for us.
Yeah, I cannot say this enough. Abyss, where's my Benji? I see it moving.
Yeah,
Give me the close-up.
Yeah.
There you go. You got it. Benji, Abyss. you guys need to believe that you have the talent to be able to do this, because you watch it in your game plan that you're like so far ahead. Take that Baron fight or that Baron pause, for example. You were very clearly waiting on an item spike for Sivir. That's why they were dancing around it, waiting for that Infinity Edge to come online. But you didn't pull the trigger. Instead, you actually got caught out. Just pull the trigger. Just have faith in Raid. Just blow the Sivir whistle and start running at them.
Yeah.
You have
The Sivir
talent in
whistle.
your roster.
I love the Sivir whistle.
Yeah, the Sivir whistle is great, and we talk about it all the time. That's the team comp that, you're just able to chase people down. Going into double AD carry rounds, especially to AD carries like the Jhin and like the Ezreal that actually need some peel for themselves if, they ever get forced on top of. No, you weren't a fan of the Direwolves comp.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier on about Jhin, how I disliked the Jhin pick earlier, and I thought it was a little greedy and wasn't taking, pretty much it wasn't destroyed.
Yeah.
And I think they did really well in demolishing it. I think a Jhin pick is fine. I actually like Jhin if you have pretty much the proper jungle matchup to always back it up, because you should always expect a 2v2 essentially. Because if you pick Jhin, you should expect to get pretty much camped out, all right? And so I thought it was unfortunate to be picking Gragas, because of course you're going up against Seb. You have pretty much the 2v2 of Gragas versus
Azir versus Jhin Gragas. You're just gonna straight lose that in the 2v2.
You just get punished, you get pushed in. It's not a good time for the Jhin.
All right, cool. So one team goes greedy in the Direwolves, and Abyss punish them with a good victory behind Raid, their AD carry. However, guys, don't go anywhere. In 3.5 minutes, we're going to have Game 2 between Abyss Esports and the Direwolves.